This is Felt Recoil.
Under Section 37B of the contract signed by him, it states quite clearly that all offers shall become null and void if, and you can read it for yourself in this photostatic copy, I, the undersigned, shall forfeit all rights, privileges, and licenses herein and herein contained, etc., etc., fax mentis incendium gloria culpum, etc., etc., memo bis punitor delicatum. It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You stole fizzy lifting drinks. You bumped into the ceiling, which now has to be washed and sterilized, so you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Welcome to the Felt Recoil Podcast. This is number 50. 2 away from a year of doing this together. My name is Kris, and across from me
is Patrick.
How are you, sir?
I'm good.
Good. A lot to get to on the show. As always, big terror attack in New York City, which ties into our charity choice this week. We'll tell you about that. Papa John's, not happy that people are taking a knee. Get to that. So the NFL taking a knee is hurting sales. Ruger stock is down if you're a gun guy or gal. If you're a gunner, a shooter, whatever you want to call yourself. Ruger stock is plummeting. It's coming back a little bit today, they say, but not looking good. And then our vote of the week is Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, which we have one right across down the street from where we work. And they're okay. They're okay. But I've lost a little bit of respect for them because they caved, because one person is a whiner. We'll get to all of that. First, our charity of choice this week. It's actually not a charity. It's something we made up, but it's more important today than ever. It's the Macy Project. 100 Americans are killed by cars every day. You can act now, and you can save lives if you visit facebook.com/Macy Project. MACI. The Macy Project. Yesterday, a terrorist hell-bent on murdering innocent people was able to walk into a store and drive away with a high-capacity death machine that required no background check and no waiting period. He then used that death machine to kill 8 people. We have a moral obligation to make all cars illegal. With the Macy Project, we're going to do just that. Facebook.com/Macy Project. I think you should have to start filling out a 4473 before you buy a car. And if you've ever committed an act of criminal domestic violence and been convicted for it, you can't buy a car. If you are a habitual user of illegal substances and alcohol, you cannot buy a car. If you've ever committed a felony, you can no longer buy a car. Getting all these cars off the streets, we're just saving lives.
You rent one, you can't take it out of the parking lot.
Absolutely. Why are we... Whoa. You're just going to rent a car to a complete stranger? No background check, no waiting period? Hey. If you've just gotten, a bug of some sort to drive yourself across the country, you need 3 days to cool down and make sure that's exactly what you want to do.
I've done it before. He's right.
You need a cool down period, okay? You need the cool down period.
It's terrible.
We can make this happen. We'll make them illegal.
There's nothing in Kansas.
I would say this. Until they decide to pass, I don't know, a constitutional amendment that says you have the right to keep and drive cars, and that right shall not be infringed. Until that happens, no cars for anybody. I think that's fair. I think it's fair. And if you're getting worked up going, you know how hard it is to get a constitutional amendment passed? Yeah, I do. That's why the second one's so important.
Cops can still have theirs, though, right?
What, the cars?
Yeah.
Well, are you under the impression the state and its agents should be allowed to have heavier machinery than you or I, the common man?
Well, I thought
in your
there
case,
was just
the very, very common man?
Right. I thought there was just a difference, like they had a different set of rules. That's all.
No. Not in my world, anyway.
Okay.
Patrick, make all cars illegal. All includes police cars.
Taking a hard stance there.
Listen, I don't make the laws of nature. John Locke did. I just follow him, okay? That's the way it goes. We're going to get more into the terrible attack in New York City and the phenomenally incompetent response from New York's leadership. I don't know. if I don't want this to be construed as the way I'm going to say it, because I don't think this should have ever happened. There's no way to prevent it. But at some point, when the leadership is so incompetent and people keep voting them into office, then when terrible things happen, you have to go, you know what? You're the ones that are putting people in place that won't do anything about it. So at some point, you have to admit, you're kind of just setting the stage for terrorism to thrive. You know, remember the mayor of London after the London attack last year, where he said that's part and parcel of living in a big city? Terrorism's just part and parcel. That's the same ideology of de Blasio and Cuomo. They just feel like, well, let's not point fingers. And more importantly, de Blasio says this isn't the time for blame. And that's getting people killed. And we'll dive into that more in just a minute. First, this episode is titled Mountain Bikes and Ear Hairs. And there's a reason for that. And I want to dive into it. I've had a terrible week when it comes to my ego. And I'm starting to learn I'm a lot older than I believe I am. I remember the first time I was allowed on a talk radio station. Basically,
what were they thinking?
Yeah, exactly. Paul, what were you possibly thinking? But a very nice man named Paul Cashin, who, if you've ever seen Bosch on Amazon, Paul kind of reminds me of Bosch. I haven't seen Paul in many, many years, but the demeanor and kind of the dry, sarcastic wit was very Paul Cashin. Paul was a great guy, is a great guy. And I went to Paul's office one day, and I was on the Top 40 station, and I said, hey, would you let me put together a weekend show and just on Saturdays come down there and put a show on for you, maybe an hour or two? And he graciously said, yeah, I'll take a shot. And he actually played a tape for me. He said, here's the rule. Never, ever, ever do this. And he had a tape of this guy who was on the air. Legitimately, this happened. He's basically going, you're listening to WERC in Birmingham, Alabama, and my name's Herb, and, well, you don't really care what I'm saying, because nobody's calling. And he just freaks out that the phones aren't ringing. And I guess he was just out of things to say, which was a major point of anxiety for me when I would do those shows was, what do you talk about? But the point is that I wanted to make sure everybody knew that I was just the schlub from the Top 40 station. So I would reference myself as the kid from the Top 40 station all the time. And I remember vividly Paul saying to me, you have this terrible thing that I share with you, by the way. It's called Peter Pan syndrome, where we refuse to acknowledge that we're growing up. You are now a man. Don't call yourself the kid from the Top 40 station. Don't kind of kick at your own credibility here. Be willing to acknowledge that you're the authority on the subject. You're behind the mic. You're the authority. And it was good advice. And it was, kind of like a personal, hey, man, chin up, man up, stop acting like you're still a kid, and get out there and speak things forcefully, respectfully, blah, blah. So I think of Paul because about 6 months ago, July, right? So not quite 6 months ago, but we're getting there. I decided, in consultation with the jerk sitting across from me, that
you're welcome.
I used to ride mountain bikes as a habit. I would ride my mountain bike everywhere, all over town. So why not buy another one and do it again? Would be good for me. It's kind of an adrenaline sport, which I love about it. Just gets you pumped for the day. If you can get out early and go down a trail for 2 or 3 miles and just huff and puff, I don't know anything else that pumps you up more for the day, in my opinion, for me. Well, I was out doing that on Saturday, old and fat as I am, Sunday, and I hit a rock and was literally thrown off my bike and landed on another rock, and my leg got all scraped up. If you follow us on Instagram, I posted a little pity portrait. I was like, oh, look at my leg, and nobody cared, which was great.
Hashtag boo-boo.
I should have. I didn't think about that. So for about a week now, so here's what happens. Last night, I'm saying goodnight to my boys, and I get down to the 3-year-old's little bed there, and his bed stands no higher than the average man's shin, when you walk up to it. So I get down on the floor, and I sing his little songs with him, and he's all amazed at my vocal,
like a combination of Fergie and Jesus.
Exactly.
I can't even look at you right now.
So I go, all right, buddy, I love you. Good night, Dad. You know, you're the best dad ever. That kind of, you know, they shower you with praise.
People are talking, talking about people.
I get up to leave that room, and something just splits right down the middle of my back and out to each shoulder, and I can't even move. Like I'm a 60-year-old man all of a sudden, hands on the knees, like, oh. So I think maybe I got beat up, right? I'm not old. I just got beat up. I got landed on a rock on Paris Mountain, man. I'm the man. I got beaten. So then today,
I think once you're married, the whole chicks dig scars thing kind of goes out the window.
First of all, don't hate on the troops, okay? And second, you're probably right. I took a bathroom break today, and as I'm washing my hands, I had what I thought was like a wild hair, like in my hair, coming out to the side by my ear. You know what I'm talking about? Sometimes you're like, oh man, missed a hair there when I got the old haircut. When I did the haircut, in my case. And I realized it's actually a hair on my ear, like on the soft lobe of my ear. And I think, holy crap, I am old. I'm like an 80-year-old man all of a sudden. I've had cancer. I can't walk anywhere. There's hair growing on my ears. Am I the only one? Have you had this moment yet? How old are you now? You're like 47?
Oh, well, yeah, pretty close.
Okay. Have you had the moment yet where you look in the mirror and you go, man, I'm almost there where I just can't be young anymore. I can't, everyone, it's like this. You're watching professional sports and everyone playing is younger than you.
I have had that realization.
It's weird, isn't it?
Watching college football and going, man, those kids are almost half my age. It is very weird. I can't say I've had any ear hair situations that have gone awry, but I definitely am feeling a little more sore than I used to. Being on the mountain bike is sort of like putting highlighter on that.
Yeah, wow.
So if it wasn't already obvious that I just feel like crap all the time,
right?
Getting out and getting banged up pretty hard is making it really obvious.
Yeah. When baby powder becomes a part of your daily routine, I think you're hitting the old man stage, and I'm there. Like, it's like a necessity at this point. And I feel like every little, and it's kind of like death by 1,000 pricks, you know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Like, it's not this one thing that I can go, well, that would be an old man thing if everything was like that. Now it's everything is like that.
The Family Guy skit of Peter, where he's like, I'm just going to go sit in this chair and make dad noises, comes to mind. He just like walks over, he's like,
it's so good.
And it goes on for like 30 seconds, and he like mumbles to himself, I'm going to go to the John. And he like, waddles up the steps.
That's so my life. Let's divert from this. That's all I wanted to say. I wanted to get off my chest. I want to acknowledge publicly that I know I'm an old man. I'm walking around work groaning. Somebody's like dropping something on the floor. You're trying to be a gentleman. Young lady drops a pin on the floor or something. I'm like, oh, get that. Oh.
You are so sexist.
Here you go. Right. Sorry about that.
Did you just assume her gender?
Yes, I did.
Think only women drop pins on the floor?
Only the pins that I'll pick up for him. Talk to me. No, you're old. All right. Can we talk about Family Guy for a second? Because this is 2 in a row for Family Guy. This is very strange. Well, 2 in a row for Seth MacFarlane. Kevin Spacey, it turns out this week, when he was 26, supposedly made a sexual advance at a 14-year-old boy. Spacey says he doesn't recall it, though he might have been drunk and it happened. And also, I'm gay.
He doesn't recall, but if it did, I was drunk. So he can remember that he was there and drunk, but not that he did it.
My 20s were a blur. And then they released this clip from Family Guy where Stewie's running through an airport and he's
running through a mall.
A mall? Okay.
Naked
little baby running through, and he goes, help, help, help. I've just escaped from Kevin Spacey's basement. And he runs around, right? And if you remember on the Weinstein thing, Seth MacFarlane had made a crack at the Oscar nominations where he goes, congratulations to all these women. You no longer have to act like you're attracted to Harvey Weinstein. And the crowd is like, ooh, because everybody knew. And now you have the Stewie joke. It makes you wonder two things. A, how much does Seth MacFarlane know? It makes me want to watch Family Guy. Haven't watched it in a very long time, but it makes me want to watch it and just believe that all the references are rooted strongly in truth. Like all these Hollywood references for all these terrible, terrible people whose pockets we fill with cash every weekend when we go to the movie theater. They're all just terrible, terrible. And I remember being young and you would have preachers come to your church and they would just generically bash Hollywood. And it was just that typical like, movies are horrible. And I remember this guy once reading his sermon, and I think it was the same guy. I think it was the Eyes Left guy. He became a, kind of like this running joke was the fact that he read his whole sermon. He never looked up. He spoke at chapel, which we had to go to every day. And he spoke one day, he read his whole sermon. And he had this thing about he would watch the billboards. And when inappropriate things were going to be on a billboard, he would tell his kids, eyes left. And they all had to look to the left so they didn't see the billboard. Because you can literally, I don't know if you know this, but you can build a bubble around your children. And when they're 20, they'll go crazy. That's a thing you can do. Or you can just say to them, some people don't live their lives the way we think people should. Who am I to judge? Anyway, his whole...
I've met some of those people before that have gone nuts when they hit 20, by the way.
Yes. Very commonplace.
It's called college.
Yeah. Well, exactly, right? So his shtick, like his backstory, was that he reviewed movies for Hollywood, and he worked for the MPAA. He put the ratings on movies. He helped do that. I think that's right, something like that. But anyway, he talked about, Hollywood's terrible, Hollywood. But nobody ever said, that I remember, here's a specific story of how these people are molesting children. Here's a specific story of how sexually perverse these people are. And I'm not talking about Spacey being gay. I'm talking about the fact that he's 26 and hitting on somebody half of his age. Like, that dude's got a serious problem. Milo made a great point where he said, he made a great joke where he said, October 31st is the only day where 14-year-olds will willingly approach Kevin Spacey's house. Thought that was funny. And then number two, he made a very astute point. Spacey just conflated pedophilia with homosexuality.
Absolutely.
And said, I was coming on to him because I was a gay man, if nothing else. Now, I know a lot of straight guys, many, many more straight guys than I know gay guys. I've never seen any of my straight friends hit on a 13, 14-year-old girl ever. Okay? Never seen it happen. And the few gay friends I've had, I've never seen it happen with underage guys. And had it happened, there'd have been a huge issue. So anyway, I say all that to say... It makes you wonder how deep is the vile, vile thing that is Hollywood. Like, how bad is it really? And we just don't know. We were just talking about Pizzagate. Give me a little synopsis of what you were... Because if you're not aware, Pizzagate is basically this theory that in Washington, D.C., there's a pizza shop where you can go in and place secretive orders, and it's really you hiring out a child prostitute, right? Wrong?
Yeah, I think that's the basis of it. The video I was watching was an investigative journalist, and her whole point was the revelation from WikiLeaks into John Podesta's emails and how cryptic they were, and he seemed to be talking in ways that people don't talk. In other words, the sentences were essentially nonsensical. And a lot of food references, which the reporter goes on to say that they're essentially code words that mean different things. Pizza means little boy, pasta means little girl. There's words for underage prostitution and all these different things. There's all this whole coded language, everything rooted in common food items, and how basically this all ties into the political elites' lifestyle, being the Clintons, and talking about Bill Clinton flying around the country or around the world with a known pedophile on his jet and staying at his private island. a bulk of the video I watched was talking about Podesta and his artwork collection, which has been featured, I guess, in several magazines and websites.
Yeah.
Which I was not aware of. But it is probably some of the creepiest stuff I've ever seen.
Huh.
Most of it depicts children who mostly look dead.
Weird.
All little boys and little girls, and they look like they're laying peacefully but dead. And so there's just a lot of weird stuff there. And, the more I watched it, the more I was convinced that this has to be a thing and that it's just being swept under the rug. And it made me kind of question why, when this stuff came out, no investigation was launched into it.
Right.
It was just, this is all conspiracy theory, hogwash. These people are all just looking for something. They're trying to make something out of nothing. It's just this big witch hunt, and there's nothing really to see.
But the more you hear about the Kevin Spaceys and Harvey Weinsteins of the world,
the more it becomes plausible.
Maybe. By the way, to support your point, from FoxNews.com, this was reported May 13th of 2016. Former President Bill Clinton flew much more frequently on a registered sex offender's infamous jet than previously reported, with flight logs showing the former president taking at least 26 trips aboard the Lolita Express, even apparently ditching his Secret Service detail for at least 5 of the trips. Clinton's presence aboard Jeffrey Epstein's Boeing 727 on 11 occasions has been reported, but flight logs show the number is more than double that, and trips between 2001 and 2003 included extended junkets around the world with Epstein and fellow passengers identified on manifests by their initials or first names, including Tatiana. The tricked-out jet earned its nickname because it was reportedly outfitted with a bed where passengers had group sex with young girls. So, I mean, it's out there. And it's not like we don't know that Clinton has a predilection for girls half his age,
when you
at
say
least.
It's out there, and I think Seth MacFarlane, in his own way, is trying to say it's an open secret.
Yeah.
Clearly, everyone knew about Harvey Weinstein. Everyone.
Nobody did anything to stop it.
And it sounds like a lot of people knew about Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
It sort of makes me wonder who else knows what else about whom,
Yeah.
right?
And they're all silent because it makes money.
Well, so, again, begs the question. Are these people being scapegoated to protect people like Bill Clinton? Now, again, maybe that's a little too tinfoil hat, but that's where my mind goes.
Well, I mean, how can you not? At this point, how are you convinced? Well, that can't possibly be true. Well, what if we told you that?
Well, you sacrifice Kevin Spacey to save your own skin, and now now it's just a diversion. Okay, look over there. Everybody get fixated on Kevin Spacey, and he's a creepy pedo, while Clinton goes and boards that plane again to do God knows what. Right?
Yep, exactly right. I just hope that Corey Feldman really comes through with what he's talking about. I hope that dude names names, times, locations, and just brings the whole thing down. We'll wait and see. All right. This is from CNN.com. This was posted and reported November the 1st. So there you go. 8 people killed and a dozen injured when a 29-year-old man in a rented pickup truck drove down a busy bicycle path near the World Trade Center Tuesday in Manhattan, New York City. The suspect was identified by 2 law enforcement sources familiar with the investigation as Sayufullo Saipov. I think I got that right. Don't really care.
I doubt it.
He's from Uzbekistan in Central Asia, but had been living in the U.S. since 2010. Authorities found a note claiming the attack was made in the name of ISIS, and it was an act of terror. Law enforcement witnesses say the man yelled Allahu Akbar as he exited the vehicle. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio said this was an act of terror, and a particularly cowardly act of terror aimed at innocent civilians, aimed at people going about their lives. Listen to this. I'm gonna pause for a second. When I tell you these people are super incompetent, I want you to just put yourself in this situation. You're the mayor of the largest city in the United States of America. You've just been given word that 8 people, well, he probably didn't know 8 people had died. So let's just put it this way. You've been given word that at least 20 people have been injured in what appears to be a terrorist attack. The police are saying the man got out with 2 weapons in hand screaming Allahu Akbar. And we 99% of the way there, this is terror. Mr. Mayor, this is probably a terrorist attack. He used a van to run people over. And then you get up and you say, this was a particularly cowardly act of terror aimed at innocent civilians, aimed at people going about their lives who had no idea what was about to hit them.
Come on. Come on.
It's like, don't pause and think about what you're about to say. You just had 8 people murdered by a man with a truck, and you choose to say, I mean, they didn't even know what was about to hit them.
All those people in New York City. How many people live in New York City?
Millions? It's like
8 million people.
8 million, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
8 million people in New York City, and none of them are speechwriters? Come on. Come on.
He's such an idiot. He's such an 8.538 million people in 2016. Yep. Here's the thing about de Blasio. So he calls it cowardly, and then he says we're not going to do any finger pointing, we're not going to do any blame, and we're not going to make this political. And that is exactly why people keep dying, because we're not willing to point the finger and blame those carrying out the attacks. Okay? This was not a Jehovah's Witness. As most other terrorist attacks around the world, 99% of terrorist attacks around the world are committed by Muslims. Does that mean all Muslims are violent people? No. What it does mean is that Islam inherently is a violent ideology, because there's no way this many people interpret it otherwise. Is the Klan a racist organization? Yes, inherently. Are there Klans people out there who might affiliate with the KKK but not actually be racist? Totally possible. Because they could say to you, I don't hate black people. I don't hate minorities. I just think white people need to take care of themselves. Well, sir, that's racist. No. I harbor no ill will to these people. And I don't think they're any less than I am. I'm just telling you that white people, we have to care for us. Well, sir, that's racist. No, I'm not being racist. So there are moderate Muslims. There is no moderate Islam. That's Walid Shubat talking there. That's a phrase of his, a former PLO terrorist who converted to Christianity and has great writings out there, great blog if you want to go follow that, yada, yada. The point is, at some point, we have to say to ourselves, Islam is the problem. Does it mean we ban all Muslims? No. But it means we address the issue and we say to ourselves, okay, so when Islam sets up shop in the United States of America, we have to keep an eye on what they're doing. Because 99% of the time, if someone attacks innocent Americans, they're Muslim. When terrorist attacks occur, it doesn't always happen by a Muslim, but the vast majority of them do. So we have to put them under a microscope and say, it's high time that we profile people with ties to historically terroristic communities. So if you come to this country, even 10 years ago, he got married, I think 2 or 3 years after arriving in the States. And an important thing here, a very important thing, he'd been here nearly a decade. And he still hated America so much, he was willing to side with ISIS and mow down innocent people. So really our option is kill them first or continue to allow them killing us. Does that mean that we kill all the women and innocent children and all that in all the Muslim majority countries? No. But it does mean we take a very targeted approach and we say, we know that's a terrorist-rich area, and we're going to go in and find all the people training and all the fighters, and we're going to obliterate them. No mercy. How many more people have to be run down on sidewalks before we say no mercy? And for the record, before you feel like maybe this is a racist rant, if this guy's name was George Zimmerman, the media would call him white. He's as white as I am. He's as white as George Zimmerman was. Is no way. If this guy had only run over black people, CNN would have its head up its own butt trying to prove that this was a targeted hate crime where this man was going after black people.
Well, you know what CNN said immediately following?
I do not.
So as soon as reports were that he jumped out of the truck and started screaming Allahu Akbar, CNN on their crawl or on their little banner at the bottom said that the assailant exited the vehicle and was screaming, "God is great."
Sure. And here's the thing. That's fine. You can nitpick what the actual interpretation is of Allahu Akbar, but know this. In the religion of Islam, which is not a religion, by the way, it's a form of government that espouses a mandated religion. Either way, within Islam, there is no salvation. So if you're a Christian, if you're Lutheran or Baptist or even Catholic, you get saved. You recognize you're a sinner, and you pray what we commonly call the sinner's prayer. You ask God to forgive you. You ask Jesus into your heart to save you from those sins, and then you dedicate the rest of your life to trying to live as Jesus lived on the earth. Okay? It's called Christ-likeness, right? We all want to be Christ-like in our actions. We want to be as good of people as we can be. That's the crux of Christianity. With the hard part, by the way, being that you have to wrap your head around the idea that we all deserve hell. But the fact that we acknowledge that we deserve hell and we admit that before God means that out of nothing but grace and forgiveness, God allows us to spend eternity with him. That's the hard part of Christianity, at least for me it is. It's like, oh, wait a second. I've done terrible things. I'm a terrible person. He's just going to let me waltz in? Yes, as long as you acknowledge it. That's weird. I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a hard...
That seems a little too easy.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man.
I feel like there's a catch.
Right. So it is. It's a weird thing to think about. However, that does not exist in Islam. There is no guaranteed salvation in Islam. Look for it, find it for me, and share it with me where you can guarantee yourself eternity in Islam. I'll tell you how you can guarantee yourself eternity in the afterlife with your 72 virgins. Do you know what it is? Dying in the fight for the cause of Allah. Which is why when these guys get out of their trucks with guns, quote unquote, which turn out to be pellet guns and paintball guns, when they mow down innocent people in New York City or fly planes into towers or blow themselves up at checkpoints or board a bus and blow their body to smithereens just to kill innocent Jews, when they do that, they say Allahu Akbar to acknowledge that they are in service to Allah at the time of their death. And they are following the edicts and mandates of Muhammad in hunting down and killing infidels. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about the fact that Muhammad said the day of the resurrection will not happen until even the rocks and trees cry out, "O believer." What does he say? I'm sorry. Something like, "O follower of Muhammad, O believer, there's a Jew behind me, come and kill him." The main premise is, and that, again, obviously I flubbed that, but the point is, the main premise is that the rocks and trees will literally scream out to Muslims, "There's a Jew behind me, come and kill them." Those are words of Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, on how the resurrection will happen and all the true believers will be accepted into the eternity. That's how it works in Islam. You cannot argue that. That is part and parcel what Islam is. And so it is important when CNN tells you, "Oh, this guy got out screaming, 'God is great,'" ask them, did he scream "God is great" while he was committing the act? Yes. Okay, because that's how you get to heaven in Islam. What they want you to believe is that religion is creating this problem, right? And it is, but it's because it's Islam. There aren't Christians out there blowing people up going, "Jesus Christ," and blowing themselves to smithereens. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. They can loosely tie people back and go, "Well, he had Christian beliefs and then he went and did this." Yeah, but show me where Jesus told him to.
Yeah, it's not in the teachings.
Right. It's not part of the theology here.
Well, to the
this
point,
is part of the theology.
He jumped out of the truck with essentially fake guns, right? So he was looking for suicide by cop because he wasn't killed in the actual act of running people over with the truck. So that, to me, spells out the fact that, yes, he's looking for that martyr's death or whatever it is they call it, you know. And one point of note that I just found a little bit comical was they actually shot him in the ass cheek. I don't know if you know that.
No, I thought they hit him in the abdomen, but that's even better. I was going to try and find it here. This is from abc7ny.com. They have new details about the truck rampage suspect and his apparent plan. He says he was inspired by ISIS videos. He started planning the attack a year ago. 2 months ago, he decided to use the truck. By the way, ISIS propaganda, if you remember, several months ago, urged them, use vehicles, run down the crowds. Paris, it happened. I think it was, no, it wasn't Paris. It was London, right? The lion. Oh, man, what was that guy? The lion of the bridge. Remember that?
Yeah.
That guy, like, put his beer down and went out there and handled business.
Left the pub and went and beat the guy senseless.
Yeah. He carried the plan out on Halloween because he believed there'd be more people on the street. Video and still images. All right, where is it here? The point I'm trying to make to you is that this guy...
I'll tell you what's going to happen.
Yep.
I had this conversation with a couple different people, and I basically said, you're seeing it in Europe, you're seeing it now in major cities in the U.S. where these guys are using vehicles, and now it's about they're playing small ball, to use a sports analogy. They're going to take out 8 or 10 people at a time here or there.
Yeah.
They're not hijacking planes and trying to take out 3,000 people.
Right.
They're going to play small ball, right? So what's our answer to that? What do we do to combat that, right? Mm-hmm. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to start seeing concrete and steel pillars getting put all along sidewalks and major thoroughfares and places where there's a lot of pedestrians, which is... Sure, that's helpful, but it doesn't really address the root of the issue.
Right.
So, I'm not saying that's a bad idea. I'm just saying that you do that, they're going to find something else or some other way to do what it is they're set in doing.
It's not a bad idea, but it's very short-sighted, right?
Right, yeah.
All right, well, they can't run anybody over again. You know, wipe our hands clean. We're done. Fix that. No, you didn't.
Yeah, well, then they throw a hand grenade into a crowded theater or something. You know what I mean?
And these guys blow themselves up.
Right. So
how do you stop that?
It doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you put concrete pillars everywhere in New York City on every single city block. Make it where you can't drive through Times Square at all. It won't make a difference
because everything is reactionary. We must become proactive. We have to admit that Islam is problematic to the existence of a free society. Islam has never existed and allowed a society to be free and to thrive. Islam has never been the religion of the majority and maintained peace in that populace. It does not happen. So,
they don't maintain peace amongst themselves and their own sects.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. They hate each other. They kill each other. It cannot be the religion. It cannot be allowed to exist without existing under a microscope. Listen, if you're an American and you want to convert to Islam, you're free to do it. You're free to do it. I'm okay at this point if you say, we're going to scrutinize every religious group. Fine. That's not impeding on my right to have that religion. Okay, I still have the right. I have the freedom of religion. That doesn't mean the government, look, just like, treat it like the Second Amendment. Treat it the way the government treats the Second Amendment. If I go buy a gun, the government makes me fill out paperwork and pass a background check, and they make sure I'm okay to own that gun. Well, if you want to go out and worship a religion, are we going to have you fill out paperwork? No, we're not. But we should be okay at this point in recognizing that Islam is not a religion in the way we're viewing religions, that Islam is an ideology that is set on destroying anyone who disagrees with it. It's not a religious faith. That's the problem. Don't let them argue it in the prism of religious faith. You have to make the argument, and you have to understand enough to say it's not a religious faith.
So on the political spectrum, how would you identify Islam?
As fascism.
I would call it fascism.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so...
Or theocracy, if you want.
So, just bear with me here, but I'm just making the connection that this is why Antifa is A-okay with everything they're doing.
Yeah, they're great bedfellows. Sure. They love each other.
I'm just making the point that those guys seem to be just best of pals.
They love each other. Hey, by the way, the driver's plan, the terrorist here, was more elaborate than what was carried out, according to ABC 7 in New York. Prosecutors say he planned to drive down the Brooklyn Bridge after the bike path to continue to hit more pedestrians, but was stopped when he hit the school bus. He planned to drive around with ISIS flags on the truck, but decided against it. And while in the hospital after his capture, he asked to fly an ISIS flag in his hospital room and said he felt good about what he had done. I mean, he's been here for a decade.
You know, what's funny about that to me is that there was a bunch of talking heads this morning who are all saying that they couldn't believe that he didn't show any remorse. They could not believe it.
It was breaking news on the Fox News app.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
Are you kidding me?
You mean the terrorist showed no remorse? None. It's almost like he was happy about it.
Hey, guys.
No.
Hey, guys, that's what terrorists do.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if you know that, but that's what they do.
It's almost like that means they have to believe that the 9/11 conspirators that didn't die by flying the planes in, that those guys are sitting around going, man, maybe we shouldn't have. Right. No, they literally were dancing in the streets in their countries,
3,000,
celebrating
3,000. I feel like we went a little hard on this one,
guys. Anybody else feel like we went a little overboard? Shut up, Durka. Sorry, I did it again. Anyway, what a mess. It's time to admit what the problem is. The problem is Islam, and it is festering, and it will only get worse as long as we act like we can't point fingers and find blame. And de Blasio's wrong on that, Cuomo's wrong on that. Point the finger, find the blame.
I can't find the name of the program that allowed him to enter the country. It's some sort of...
The diversity visa program.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it's basically like a lottery, is my understanding.
Something like that, yep.
It was signed into law by W.
Obama.
Was it W? Or was it Obama?
I thought it was a...
well, I've heard conflicting reports today.
Obama, I thought. Let's see. Let's see here. It's funny when you Google things, you have to really look through to see.
You're weeding through all the fake news.
Yeah, who you can believe.
While you're looking for that, I'll just finish my point.
Sure.
Apparently, Trump at some point today signed an executive order basically canceling that program.
Yes.
And liberals' heads exploded in unison.
We might be way off here. According to the Washington Post, it was formed in 1990. From Romania to Nepal, they call it the Golden Ticket, a diversity visa lottery that offers citizens of countries with low immigration rates a chance to come to the U.S. On Wednesday, the program became best known as the entrance portal for the terrorist from Uzbekistan. President Trump, who along with some Republican lawmakers had previously called for ending it, doubled down Wednesday, saying before a cabinet meeting, we need to get rid of the lottery program as soon as possible. We are fighting hard for merit-based immigration, no more Democrat lottery systems, the president said. Moments earlier, he took a jab at Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who helped create the program in 1990. So I guess that's it. It started in 1990, which would have been Bush Senior.
There you go.
Right? Yeah, because Clinton in 92. So, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I thought it was an Obama program. I don't know where I got that, except that I just hate Obama.
I didn't even know it existed. And I thought it was really funny that there's a lottery system to get you to the front of the line when there's people who have been legitimately trying to get into the country through legal channels for years upon years, and they can't do it because you've got these guys that they got the Disneyland Fast Pass and they get to just hop the line.
You got that right. It's a little
bizarre. And to Donald Trump's point, I think he's dead on. I don't know why there isn't a merit-based system. If you don't have something to offer this country, I don't know why we're letting you in. And you can call me racist if you want to, but
it almost sounds like you want to make America great again. Which is essentially Heil Hitler in English.
So by that same standard, Canada is all Nazis because that's how their immigration system works. That's how Mexico's immigration system works.
Canada has universal health care for everyone. They get a pass. Any other dumb comments, Yulon, or can I move on?
No. I think I'm just going to unplug my mic now and go home.
SportsIllustrated.com has a story that's kind of funny. The founder of Papa John's Pizza says the national anthem protests have been bad for business. During a quarterly conference call, right? Papa John's, by the way, is the largest sponsor of the NFL when it comes to pizza chains. They're the largest. During a quarterly conference call...
I thought you were going to say they're the largest, period. My mind was about to be blown.
I don't think so. Maybe is that in here?
If they are the largest, we are overpaying for pizza.
They're
That's all I'm
the
saying.
They're the NFL's only official pizza company. During a quarterly conference call, Papa John's CEO John Schnatter said that the protests should have been nipped in the bud a year and a half ago when former San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick started kneeling during the playing of the national anthem. This is Sports Illustrated talking. Listen to this. Kaepernick opted out of his contract at the end of last season and has not been signed by an NFL team, fueling speculation that he is being blackballed. First of all, that's racist, blackballed, right? I think so.
I don't think we're allowed to use that term anymore.
Schnatter believes the NFL's failure to stop the protest has done damage.
Stop calling him by his last name.
Sorry,
Just call him Papa John.
All right, sorry.
Freaking me out, man.
Papa John believes the NFL's failure to stop the protest has done damage to his business, saying the NFL has hurt us. We're disappointed the NFL and its leadership did not resolve this. Leadership starts at the top, and this is an example of poor leadership. Oh, snap. Papa John's is not only the NFL's official pizza company, the company also has individual deals with almost 3/4 of the league's individual teams. The company's stock price has dipped more than 5% since the beginning of the NFL season. I think he's got a point, man. If that's where you're focusing your marketing efforts and now nobody's watching, you lose top of mind status. People start looking elsewhere. It would make sense that there's a correlation if that's where he's spending a lot of his ad revenue and now nobody's watching.
How could you deny it?
Well, I'll tell you another thing. Had I known that, if I was like trying to watch the NFL and I saw they were a major sponsor, I wouldn't eat at Papa John's because I'm not going to do business with people who still do business with the NFL. I think they need to stop. Stop doing it until these guys learn the lesson that nobody agrees with what they're doing.
Consider this, too. I don't know if you saw this article or not, but apparently ESPN is... What just happened?
Was that in your head, too?
Yeah.
I thought the door fell over or something. That was crazy.
In the world?
I don't know. All right, continue. Sorry. Freaked me out.
That was weird. Man, what was I don't even know what I was talking about.
You lost me. I feel like we went through a time portal.
I thought you just electrocuted me.
Did you think that?
Yeah.
I tried. I was going to kill you.
Oh, okay. So what I was going to say.
I hope it picked up on the recording because otherwise none of this will make any sense.
Otherwise, we look like idiots.
Go ahead. We'll go back and find out.
ESPN is actually talking about dropping the NFL from their coverage. So no longer hosting games in their entirety. Imagine that. Any time in the past, if you had told me one day the NFL will not be part of ESPN, I would tell you you're insane.
The reason that's hard to fathom is because ESPN is so left-leaning anyway. Like, all their people hate Trump. They all tweet
guess that's
about
the greater
Trump
point
being
I'm
a
trying
racist.
to make. That's the greater point I'm trying to make is that because ESPN has become so politicized over the last couple of years, I think it's made it easier for the NFL to do the same. And so it's almost come to a point where the line is blurred between the two because they're both so political at this point. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, you're right. I understand.
So all of a sudden now they don't want to be political?
Right.
Okay, all right.
Oh. Interesting.
We want to give Caitlyn Jenner the Athlete of the Year award, but now, I don't know, NFL, you guys, I mean, kind of looks contagious. Think we're going to go over here.
He won, it was the Courage Award.
Yeah,
and he won it
BS like
while
that,
like some injured vet was sitting there watching him, right? Don't I understand this correctly?
Yeah.
Jeez. Idiots. I gotta chop my penis off. Courage. Give that man an award. And it is a man, just for the record. Well, speaking of dropping stock prices, Ruger raked in $9.3 million in profits in its third quarter, a 53% decline from the previous year, the biggest on record for gun sales as consumer fears of impending regulation stoked demand. That was last year. It's the second double-digit loss for Ruger this year. CEO Christopher Killoy acknowledged the earnings slide in the company's financial filings on Tuesday. By the way, all this according to guns.com. The dismal results come after a strong first quarter for the company, which reported $167.4 million in sales. That's absurd. I can't believe that. Who are they, Glock? A 3% decline over first quarter 2016. Sales fell more than 35% in the third quarter, according to the company's earnings report. Where do I begin? A little advice for you, Ruger. Stop making junk, okay? Stop with stupid marketing campaigns.
Come up with a real warranty.
A real warranty. Try to remember that Ruger released the Ruger American. And the name of the company, by the way, is Sturm, Ruger and Company. And then they release a handgun called the Ruger American and say anything else is just un-American or is not really American. Or what was it? It was un-American, right? Anything else?
I wouldn't know.
Hold on, I gotta look it up so I'm not wrong. Ruger American pistol. Dude, do it. All right, wait. Go to Google right now. And start typing Ruger American pistol and tell me the first thing that populates. But get to P for pistol. Ruger American pistol.
Hang on. I'm getting there.
It's Google. It's Google. I don't know if you've ever...
Wait, spell it again?
All right, Google.
What's the number for 911?
Right. So Ruger American pistol. Do this with us and see if it works for you. You're going to start typing Ruger American pistol. It will give you some suggestions. Tell me the first one you see.
Review.
Really?
Yeah.
I got Ruger American pistol problems, which I thought was so perfect.
It's not the first one, but it's in the list.
Oh, man.
The one after problems is Ruger American pistol versus Glock, which is also funny.
So stupid. Ruger, come on. You can't. Ruger does not know how to make a good handgun. They just don't. Like, I give them credit on their revolvers. They make solid revolvers, but their semi-auto line is stupid. Anything else would be un-American. That's the tagline for the Ruger American Pistols marketing campaign. I'll tell you what's American. Lifetime warranties. In writing.
Thank you, Smith & Wesson.
And Springfield Armory.
I don't see anything in that article about their stock price dropping.
Yeah. So Ruger stock is plummeting, and they have only themselves to blame. I mean, wondering why Ruger stock is plummeting is similar to wondering why nobody wants a Taurus anymore. You know? A, they're not that great. B, you sold a bunch of guns to terrorists, and you knew about it, so I don't want to do business with you anymore. All right.
Hey, I just noticed this on Ruger's website, which I thought was hilarious.
Tell me all about it.
So you can tell, maybe you won't find this as funny as me, but
I never do.
They actually, I know you don't. They actually have a tab called Ruger Auction, where it seems you can bid on rare Ruger firearms.
So like the one pistol that works?
I don't know.
It's a rare firearm from Ruger.
But here's
the SR9.
Here's the first one in the auction. You ready for this?
Yeah.
The stainless P91. Are you familiar with that one?
No.
Well, let me give you the description.
Okay.
The stainless P91 decocker model first appeared in the 1993 Ruger firearms catalog. Then it talks about serial number, test fire date, that the pistol has never been fired beyond normal testing following manufacture. Then it goes on to say, this 40 auto caliber decockle model P91 is made of hard-coated something aircraft quality aluminum alloy. And it goes on and on and on about all these crazy things that no one would care about. And this is literally just the biggest piece of junk. They can't be serious right now.
They're very serious, I'm sure.
Hang on. There's a link to Gunbroker.
Let
me see what the bid's up to.
Tell us what we're at here.
Current bid. How much would you pay for a fine firearm such as this, Chris?
I mean, probably $7, maybe even $8.
You remember the old infomercials? How much would you pay for this?
Right, yeah.
And then the guy go, I'd pay upwards of $4.99. You remember that?
Yeah. Oh, luckily it's $4.98 today.
The starting bid was $250.
Okay, fair enough.
These are rare items, Chris.
Sure, fair enough.
Very rare.
Fair enough.
Current bid. And there's 6 days left, so you got a little time to make up your mind if you really want it or
now,
not.
Is it? It's the HKP7. Is that what we're looking at?
No, sir.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said rare items that were collectible. What are we looking at?
That would make more sense.
Okay.
$560. this could be yours for the price of, say, I don't know, a FN 509 with night sights.
A good gun. So what you're saying is
That's what I was implying.
buy a good gun. Interesting.
Politely.
Might as well buy a Beretta APX. Call it a day. All right, it's time for our Voda of the Week. Voda of the Week is where we share with you a story of either a stupid person or, in this week's case, a stupid company. But the dumbest thing we can find all week long is our Voda of the Week. And this week it's brought to you by the Kate Plus 8 haircut. Ladies, the Kate Plus 8 haircut is just in case anyone mistakes you for a caring, compassionate, rational human being. All right, I like to think someone thinks that's like, wow, the Kate Plus 8 haircut bought a sponsorship? That's weird. All right. This is from WYFF4.com. Out of Charlotte, North Carolina, Bad Daddy's Burger Bar has renamed a breakfast item, I didn't even know they had breakfast, called the Border Patrol Scramble that was served at a North Carolina airport. Oh, maybe that explains it. Following criticism that the name for a dish featuring jalapeno peppers and salsa was racially offensive. Border Patrol is racially offensive. The company told the Charlotte Observer that new menus calling the egg dish the Spicy Morning Scramble would be available starting Wednesday. Activist Andrea Pignol spotted the scramble, which was only available at the Charlotte Douglas International Airport location, and objected to it on Twitter. More people criticized the name on Facebook, calling it racist and insensitive to immigrant families. Hey, idiots. If you actually are immigrants, you never meet Border Patrol. How crazy is that? You don't meet Border Patrol if you're an actual immigrant. But if you're an invader who's coming here illegally, yeah, you might get to say hey. I love the fact that a bunch of criminals are shoving us around about what's acceptable in our own society. How stupid can we be?
Strange world.
It's so racist that you're against people breaking into your company and pilfering off your welfare system that you pay for.
It's also funny to me that she's a self-proclaimed activist.
She's an activist, my friend.
It's not like she's a nurse or an accountant or a lawyer or anything. She's just an activist. She pays the bills activating.
You know what it reminds me of? And I hate to do this, but I'm gonna. My buddy posted that he's having problems with his insurance company communicating with his doctor, and his insurance company...
It's never happened.
Right.
That's not true.
Exactly.
It doesn't work that way.
His insurance company sent him a bill that he doesn't feel like he has to pay.
Take it from a guy who had surgery in February and just got the check last week.
Good for you. Right.
For the reimbursement.
Right.
So
exactly.
It doesn't happen. They don't ever lose anything. It all goes perfectly as planned, just like they tell you it's going to. So your friend...
He's wrong?
He's a liar.
All right.
He's a dirty liar.
What an idiot. I'll tell him. So he says he gets his bill in the mail, and he asks, what good is the insurance if you're going to have to track me down 7 months later with a bill for $300 or more? The first comment, I love this. The first comment is this chick, Megan.
I've been to that dentist.
Megan says, I'm not insured at all. And every time I go to the doc, they give me discounts for being uninsured. Dude, I about lost my mind. I'm looking at an Audi Q7 brand new off the line car payment every month in health insurance coverage. Just medical. To be real clear, in the last 3 months, just medical, I've paid $2,500 in 3 months.
I would, if I were you, just stop paying that and go buy that Audi.
I would love to. However...
No. Don't love to. Do it.
Go do it. I'll tell you this.
And I'll start scraping together some bail money.
If I didn't have kids and cancer, I might do just that, you know? It's unreal. And I think of her now because you get these people who go, oh, it's so racist to immigrants. We're not mad about the immigrants. We're mad about the illegals. Well, insurance is a mess. Yes, it is. Because people like this woman will go everywhere and not have insurance and then demand discounts on the exchange for not having insurance. God bless.
Is that really what it means? I mean,
I don't know.
I'm thinking they're paying cash and that's why they're getting a discount.
You can't pay cash anymore.
No, that's not how it works.
Patrick, I'm telling you now, throughout the last 3 years, When did I get? Yeah, whatever, somewhere around there, 2 years maybe. Over the last couple of years, with all the doctors I've met, just for my own edification, I have asked, what happens if I pay you cash? None of them will take cash. It is a legal problem for them now to take cash. Massive legal problem. I think. I don't know. But I'm just telling you, maybe there's a doctor out there that'll just take cash. I know this. Before Obamacare, Walmart had announced a plan where they were going to put clinics in the Walmarts.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
You would see a general practitioner and it would cost you $50. $50 is all. Think about that. So I go to my doctor once a year for a physical, but I pay insurance every month. And then this time I had a $35, $50 copay. When I went to my specialist, it was $50. I spent $100 last week alone just to go to 2 separate doctors out of pocket. Yet I'm paying $700 and $800 a month for insurance. I cannot wrap my head around what is going on, except that they're fleecing all of us.
I can't wrap my head around where all the money's going.
They're fleecing us. They're fleecing us. It's absolutely absurd. I'm at the point where I'd rather pay the penalty and pay cash at visits, but it's next to impossible. It's next to impossible. It's unreal. My wife insured on her own $300 a month. $300. So put that in perspective. And
which for a healthy person,
right?
Who's what? Going to the dentist twice a year? Maybe you have an annual checkup?
No can do, man. You can't even make that happen anymore simply because here's the thing I don't think the government gets. When insurance gets super expensive like that, it's actually a deterrent to going to the doctor because what other money do I have? How would I afford anything else? I'm not going to go to the doctor. I don't know if I've griped about this yet or not, but I'll just tell you.
I mean, we've been doing this almost a year, so probably. But go ahead.
So I have to take Synthroid every day, right? I take a synthetic thyroid hormone every day. I have to have it. Because your thyroid is what creates all your hormones. And though thyroid cancer is not a huge deal, once they remove your thyroid...
Where do you get that?
What's that?
Where do you get that?
What, my medicine?
Yeah.
At Costco.
I've been buying my Synthroid on the black market.
Oh, yeah. Yes, who's that? Moral of the story is, used to be I could get 90 days worth of levothyroxine, which is the generic Synthroid medicine. I get 90 days worth for $5 at Costco. My work switched insurers. I know I told the story. And now it's $8 per 30 days, and I'm no longer allowed to get 90 days worth because my work didn't choose that plan for me. For anyone in the company, we can't do it. So frustrating on many different levels. But how is your work going to know? You know what I'm saying? Like, your work has to pick the one that works best for the company. Get it. Got it. Good. But why is the government involved? Why can't I just drop my insurance right now and shop the market? Right? Not the marketplace, but the market, the free market. Why can't I shop it? It's because Obamacare killed the free market. If you're anti-fascist, you should be anti-Obamacare because it was by force our economy and free market were stolen from us. All right. Enough. What a tangent. Hey, let's talk about, I don't even remember what the vote of the week was at this point. Bad Daddy Burgers.
It doesn't matter.
Hey, that was episode number 50. We'll see you next time for episode number 51. By the way, we got a lot of fun stuff coming. We've got new stickers that we ordered. They're here. We've got pint glasses and rocks glasses on the way. And when those are here, we'll put them up on the website and have a really, really nice little store for you to buy some swag in. Again, a lot of what we're selling, we're just selling to try and raise some money for some good charities around the world. In the meantime, find us online at feltrecoilshow.com. Follow us on Instagram. It really is a lot more fun than we are in real life. Felt Recoil Show is our Instagram handle. If you're into mountain bikes, probably going to fit right in. If you're into guns, you're going to fit right in as well. You can email me, Kris, K-R-I-S, at feltrecoilshow.com, or Patrick, common spelling for a common man, at feltrecoilshow.com. We will see you next week for episode number 51 of the Felt Recoil Podcast.